Thanks for tuning in to the Beyond Normal podcast, where we highlight minority business owners and founders, and we use this platform to shed light on their entrepreneur journey. Welcome to the Beyond Normal podcast. I'm excited to have Nate Randle, the owner-operator of the Top Coat Nail Bar, Charlotte's premier full-service nail bar. Thanks for joining, Nate.
Appreciate it, Kenny. Thanks for having me, man.
So we're going to hop right into things. I know Nate's got a lot to tell you guys today about the entrepreneur journey that he's on. So let's start out, Nate, by telling us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, so from Chicago. I've been here in Charlotte, North Carolina for about 4 years. Moved down here for work in the financial services sector, corporate America. I moved here from New York, attended Southern Illinois University for undergrad, University of North Carolina, Charlotte for my MBA. Just finished up a few months back. And, you know, we got Top Coat Nail Bar. I got a couple other entrepreneurial businesses that I've run, some real estate dealings, non-for-profit, and really just trying to build on the streams of income, man.
Appreciate that background. And so, you know, you touched on a lot of things there just in terms of you're moving around, you're getting different experiences really across the nation here, but now, you're transitioning some of that corporate experience into these different business endeavors. You mentioned the different things that you're doing. Why is a nail salon the next opportunity for you?
Yeah, so I mentioned I do real estate, and all of the real estate that I do is in Chicago, where I'm from. Being here in Charlotte, trying to figure out how can I get into the market from a business standpoint and figure out where did I feel like my niche would be. And anytime I'm going into business opportunities from an entrepreneurial standpoint, I kind of focus around two things. One is an area where my culture is a participant of whatever that business is or the product or service that business produces. And then two, from an ownership side, you don't see a high level of participation from my culture. So when you think about real estate, every place that I have apartment buildings throughout Chicago, the communities are, pretty much close to almost all African American. From an ownership standpoint, it's almost the exact opposite. So, right, it meets those two criteria. When we think about the nail salon, and just the beauty industry, the nail industry in general, huge participation from a culture standpoint, from Black people, from African Americans, from diverse individuals. But from an ownership standpoint, majority of the nail salons in America are Asian owned. So again, kind of fits those two criteria. If it fits that and profitable, then, it's something I consider and figure out if it's a right move for the portfolio.
Yeah, I love how you mentioned kind of somewhat, making sure that it checks the box from a cultural standpoint and making sure that it fits within our culture in addition to that profitability that I know you're always going to look into. Moving a step back, right? Because it sounds like you have kind of that, what I would call kind of that entrepreneur kind of DNA, right, embedded in you. So what is the reason for you to have that embedded in, the way that you think right now?
As far as checking those two boxes from a cultural standpoint?
I would say even taking it back a little bit more, why is it important for you right now to be a business owner, to have these different endeavors going on?
Got it. Yeah, so I think a lot of times people hear the statement that the average millionaire has 7 streams of income. I think the next thing that people hear when it comes to millionaires is 90% of millionaires become millionaires through real estate. I think the part that people don't really, or in my mind, is like left out after those two statements, or after the first statement that the average or millionaire has 7 streams of income, is that I think these millionaires, they kind of diversify their portfolio, but they're really hoping for one thing to click. Usually you don't see an entrepreneur in like all 7 of their income streams is just booming. It's more so them finding their way. And over time, one of those streams of income, one of those businesses is the one, right? And the formula just works perfectly where it's the sole or largest, contributor from a portfolio standpoint. And so really that's what I'm doing. Do the nail salon. I've got really big plans for the nail salon. I'm, thinking about franchising and having those conversations. That could be the one that, takes me over the top. The real estate portfolio has done really well, continue to grow that portfolio over the past 5 years. That could be the one that pops. Corporate America doing really well work-wise, and I see growth from that standpoint. So really, I'm picking up these opportunities, finding ways to continue to grow and reinvent myself, but understanding and trusting in the sense that over time, one of these was probably going to be the one that, becomes my bread and butter, if you will.
I like the balanced approach there. And so, moving to the next question, what's something as you started these businesses, just these different avenues that you're pursuing, like what's something that you wish you would have maybe learned at the beginning that you may have had to go through and take your lumps through the process?
How about COVID-19? Right? Like, if somebody could have told me this was coming, I never would have bought the nail salon, just from a business standpoint, right? And I mean, literally, we opened the nail salon in December. COVID shut us down in March. So, we had 2 or plus months or so of really getting off the ground just to be shut down for a few months and then try to navigate those waters. So I think that's been a big piece because prior to COVID, business was really booming. We had a really good, social engagement. The community was showing a lot of support. We made the news like 7 times in the past 7 months. I think the momentum was there. So I think that's one thing. I think the other piece too is this is the first time working for the nail salon, first time working with, or I guess being a manager or owner over a business where you have responsibility for independent contributors, right? And so everything that comes along with that, from promoting a team aspect, a cultural aspect, I think is some of the biggest challenges thus far, especially since, you're trying to build that culture, but I'm not there every day. I'd say those are probably the 2 biggest things.
I like how you threw in there the kind of like you said, being responsible for the individual contributors, like they're going off of your lead, right? You may have to wear different hats. Sometimes you got to be the good guy, the bad guy, but ultimately it falls on you. So appreciate that perspective. You dipped into it a little bit in terms of the COVID-19 impact. So I want to, focus more on, how do you stay engaged with your customer base during these difficult times?
Yeah, really, you're trying to attend to their needs, right? We do a really good job of letting them know how sanitized and our safety procedures for cleaning the shop. We're doing sanitation and cleaning procedures after every customer leaves the shop. When they come in, we're having to wash their hands. So I think overall, creating a sense of cleanliness and safety within the shop is huge. I think the other piece too is just trying to engage people to support small business, support Black business, and really play a part. It's difficult, I think, industry-wide. I think just countrywide in general, just jobs are, few and far between, and just the industry and the way the economy is moving. It doesn't look really promising as of right now. And so really trying to help customers help us to be able to ride the wave, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really good question. I don't know if I really got the best answer for it.
I think you definitely did, because what you're doing right now is what a lot of businesses have to do, and you got to adjust so that your customers at least feel, I mean, right now with COVID-19, there's a comfort level. Somebody has to feel comfortable coming to your establishment. And the basic things, like right now, when I walk into a place and I see hand sanitizer, I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is the best place. It doesn't matter where I'm at, as long as the business that I choose to go to right now, they're taking into account my health. Because, we all see from time to time, we see certain folks are wearing the mask, and certain folks are not wearing the mask, and where the folks are that aren't wearing the mask, right now, honestly, for me and my family safety, I'm not trying to be there. So I commend you on that. COVID-19 is what I would say the first, that's kind of the first pandemic that's kind of plaguing us right now. The second pandemic that we're all feeling the effects of is really just the the spotlight on the racial injustice going on right now. At the beginning of the year, we had George Floyd, but more recently, in this week here, we actually had the Jacob Blake situation. So I want to get your thoughts on that and how you feel like that's going to impact your business moving forward.
Yeah, from a business standpoint, I think I'll probably answer that piece first. Is really just showing people opportunity and trying to, I think we have to continue to push forward as a culture to hold ourselves in high regards, to get high paying jobs, to live in good neighborhoods, to drive influence, to change the narrative. People talk a lot about changing the narratives and those type of things. And I feel like it's like peaks and valleys. Something happens and we get really tied to the cause and tied to the situation from a vocal standpoint, but a lot of it has to be from an action place, right? And I think it's across the board. In every decision that I make, as much as possible, I'm trying to be cognizant about pushing the culture forward, whether that's buying at Black-owned businesses, supporting Black-owned businesses, promoting Black-owned businesses, because the more that I can do that, I think the better it puts my race, which puts us in, like I say, better places of influence when it comes to politics and things like that. So as much as possible, I have to be a staple. I thought about, George Floyd's situation, or a recent situation that just happened over the weekend. And I think sometimes you think, okay, because I'm not there, because I'm not out protesting, people can think that they're not so tied to the cause. If nothing else, the fact that I have a Black-owned business, that I employ Black individuals, that's one less individual that could be in the streets at the wrong time and die at the hands of a police officer. If nothing else, that's me playing my part, right? Amongst the other things that I'm doing from just community effort and just being a resource for people, whether it's to talk to or to strategize or just to be a listening ear. So I think that piece, and then circle back to me on the first part of the question.
Just in terms of, how COVID, I think you kind of answered it though, in terms of the impact of the riots. I feel like you definitely touched on it in terms of how it's going to impact your business moving forward. Yeah. And then how you feel like it, is impacting you right now.
Yeah, I think from an impacting me standpoint, it's more along the lines of when you really just kind of think through the overall process, I think it's really jacked up. I think that we're too loose with guns. I think there's plenty of things between guns and handcuffs that fall in between that can de-escalate a situation or can keep a police officer from feeling like their life is in danger, et cetera, et cetera. Because I think the threshold that a police officer needs to be able to say that their life is in danger and then take those type of actions is way too low. I think it's very low. And then, I think it happens frequently because people understand that the consequences really aren't there. You don't see police officers getting, what I feel like is just due, and that's just me, Those impacts are major. Those are individuals who will never walk the face of earth again. To that individual or that officer in a community that does not know that individual, it means nothing to them because that's not a void that's put, right? But you take those voids and combine them with the other voids that I feel like America has created to destruct the African-American race. I think it's an uphill battle. It's a daily struggle. It's a daily struggle. Those are my thoughts. I think that's how it makes me more scared for my life. It makes me trust police officers less. And it's not a police officer thing in general, but how do you know if you got a good police officer on your hands or not? I think for what that situation was, for a person walking away, not facing, and I don't know everything, sometimes you make judgments too soon. I don't know everything surrounding. From what I seen from the small clip, again, a taser, right? A pellet gun, something, right? But I just think having a gun is just too much power. It's too much power, and you can't. There's no control, alt, delete. There's no backspace. Once that happens, it happens, and I think it happens too often.
I appreciate the perspective, and the different kind of layers as you started to peel through it. that just shows like there's no like set answer for it, right? We're all trying to figure that out and come to an agreement because, like you said, there's each side has valid points, but at the same time, you touched on the fact that if it makes you feel less safe, given the current environment, and so that's something ultimately that we got to kind of strive to minimize that because everybody should at least feel safe in their own environment.
Yeah,
if it's their normal day to day.
Yeah, I had to get my car registration redone, or this is my first time renewing since having North Carolina tags. And so with COVID and everything's backed up, I did it online and it took a while to get to me. And so maybe for like the past 10 days or so, I've been driving my car with expired tags. And I think about it the whole time I'm driving, right? And it shouldn't be that big a risk. Worst case scenario, I get pulled over. I can show proof that I paid for it. Worst case scenario, maybe I get a ticket, maybe I don't because I can show proof that I already paid for it and COVID is happening. But those aren't even the thoughts of my mind. They said for that guy in Wisconsin that it was like a domestic dispute. How do you go from domestic dispute to a gun drawn? So in my mind, it's like, how many different ways can a police officer win a case where he pulled over an African-American male for having tags that weren't current and that guy lost his life? So it's crazy for those type of things. This is another thing, and I don't mean to derail the conversation. These are just thoughts on my mind. I just was having a conversation this week. A lot of people, and I just thought it was normal, people around me, when we finish conversations or we're going somewhere or something like that, we always say, be safe. I don't think white people say that, right? Some things that are just conditioned, you say it off of just like a day-to-day is so conditioned that you don't even think about it. It's like, what do you really mean be safe? Why is that like out of all the things, it's not like a love you or have a good day or, own the day, kick butt, anything like that. It's like, be safe. I think that alone is crazy.
I know. I appreciate you opening up because it feels like, these thoughts that are going through your head, that's driving a lot of the reason why you feel like, you want to make sure you have different streams of income. Like you mentioned, you want to have these different businesses and put, employ people, right? That's something that not everybody thinks about, but, given the current situation, we got to make sure that we're protecting people, Black and brown people that look like us. And I feel like you setting that tone by being a business owner, that's really what you're doing. Like, even as you're going through those thoughts, I can tell it translates to you caring so much about your businesses and making sure those are successful. So appreciate that there. So the last question, or one of the last questions I always ask everybody is, like what's next for the nail bar? What do you see in the future? Once COVID obviously, hopefully slows down in the near term, what does the future look like for the nail bar?
Yeah, can we play a game real quick? I don't even know if I should give you this for your podcast, man. I don't want nobody taking my stuff. Let's play a game real quick. I'm gonna mention some things, and you tell me the first thing that comes to mind, and then on the back end, I'll tell you plans for the future. All right?
Okay.
All right. Airlines.
I don't want to use them right now.
Okay. Let's start over. Let's go this way. I'm gonna name so you tell me the first thing that comes to mind. Fast food.
Chick-fil-A.
Coffee.
Starbucks.
Hotels.
Airbnb.
Gyms.
Pelotons.
Car brand.
Tesla.
Nail salon. Right? There's nobody that holds market value.
Yeah, I don't know in terms of those brands.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
The closest thing I can take you to is like, maybe like barbershop, right? And maybe you go like Sports Clips, Supercuts, right? But from a nail salon standpoint, there's no one that has like just a stronghold in the market from a monopoly standpoint. I asked plenty of people that question. No one gives me a set nail salon unless it's the one that they go to. So answering your question, I think franchise is where it's at. One, there's not, we just went through, there's no like really name recognition in the space. Yet you see nail bars everywhere. And once I opened the nail bar, I saw them even more. Like I didn't even realize, like you can pretty much bank that every single shopping mall that you pass has got a nail salon. Every single one.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think when you couple that with the fact that there's not really many Black-owned nail salons, to be able to franchise a Black-owned nail salon, I think would be a wonderful situation.
Mm-hmm.
Pending COVID is over and those type of things. And so really this is an opportunity to learn the business, learn the market, learn how to work through just the business model, put together structure and procedures and processes in place. But I think maybe 30 days in, people were calling us trying to franchise another location. And I'm just like, we don't even know if this was going to be successful or not. You know what I mean? Like, I'm 30 days in, I haven't even dealt with all of the cyclicality, if that's the way you pronounce it, whatever, right? Just the cyclical nature of the industry. I'm only 30 days in. People are saying, hey, I got the funds. I think this is a good idea. Let's franchise. I'm telling those people, give me some time. And this is pre-COVID. So we got to get through COVID, but I think that's the wave, man. I think franchising is the way to go. And I think we can grow the business. And I think Charlotte's a really good place to do that.
Thanks for that. So, I feel like we touched on a lot of great topics today. I appreciate Nate opening up about his journey and Top Coat Nail Bar. So, Nate, I just want to pass it to you in closing. Any last comments? And in addition to that, could you just let everybody know how they can reach out and leverage Top Coat Nail Bar for all their nail services?
Yep, Top Coat CLT, full service nail bar. So if you're on Instagram or Facebook, it's Top Coat CLT. And we do everything from acrylic to SNS, lashes, waxes, brows, you name it. If you're hearing this podcast, if you have not yet been to Top Coat, you better get there. If you get your nails done, if your lady gets her nails done, if your man gets his nails done, if they get their nails done and they're not going to they're from the culture, if they're African American, they don't go to a Black-owned shop. In my mind, they're cheating on the culture. So if you're hearing this and you're not going to a Black-owned shop, it doesn't even have to be my shop. It just better be Black-owned. When I see people walk in the streets and I talk to people about where they get their nails done, if they don't tell me that they go to a Black-owned shop, I'm letting them know they're cheating on the culture. So if you're hearing this and you're not at Top Coat, you're not supporting the culture, I don't want to hear those conversations. I want to see you in the street supporting Black-owned businesses, Black-owned schools, Black-owned bars, Black-owned restaurants, Black-owned nail salons, the whole nine. Black-owned banks, everything.
Thanks for that, Nate. I appreciate the plug. And, just to piggyback on what Nate just said, this month is actually Black Business Month as well. So now is a good time to go out if you have not. It's kind of late in the month, but if you have not, go out and make sure that you're supporting your local Black-owned businesses. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to the Beyond Normal podcast. We can be streamed across all major streaming platforms in addition to YouTube. Come back again.